Hey everyone, welcome to the Burnt Brass Homestead channel. This is a video regarding our wood burning stove, why we got it, and what to expect for those who may be thinking of getting one. We've had this wood burning stove for about 2 years. It was installed in March of 2021. This house is about 1,000 to 1,200 square foot, depending on which paperwork you look at. And the stove is a Vista C series, and it heats the entire house minus the basement just fine. So while this isn't a very big house, it's not extremely small either. To me, it's the perfect size to heat and to maintain. There is one room in the house, the back room, that has an electric baseboard heater. That's the only room that can be heated using electricity. The pipes for the wood burning stove goes up about 1 foot from the first floor ceiling, then out the side of the house. This was actually the perfect spot to place the stove for the way this house is designed, as well as to disperse the heat throughout the various rooms on the first floor. The back of the stove is relatively warm because of the back plate. The same is true for the sides of the wood stove. Most of the heat comes from the top and the front of the wood burning stove, which is pushed forward by the fan. The silver tube you see to the left of the wood stove is something my husband rigged up to pull air from the outside versus the wood stove pulling the air from inside. Before he installed the dryer vent duct holes, the wood stove would pull air and moisture from inside the house, which caused the air to be dry. So this setup helps tremendously in preventing the wood stove from taking all the moisture out of the air from inside the house. The drying hose stays cool, so it never gets hot. It's always cool or cold from the air being pulled in from the outside. Although the window is partially open to allow air to be pulled in from the outside to the wood stove, we do have 2 methods of securing this window to prevent someone from trying to open it from the outside to get in the house. The silver kettle helps with adding moisture to the rooms downstairs. In addition to the fan pushing the heat from the stove forward into the other rooms, it also seems to push some of the moisture from the kettle forward as well. And finally, we have 2 thermometers, one that sits on the wood burning stove and the other that sits on the pipe. The thermometers help to ensure the wood stove is burning at ideal temperatures. And the trivet you see is used to bake foods like bread. Sitting the bread pan directly on the stove may cause the bottom of the bread to burn. And for those of you wondering, the electrical outlets on the right side of the stove are not in use. We got this wood burning stove off a Facebook Marketplace for $275 delivered. It was in very good condition. So far, we only needed to replace about 5 or 6 of the fire bricks. Installation of the wood stove and hearth was about $4,000. Now, you can perform the installation yourself, but because of the way the house was designed, we really only had one location to place the stove, which was here. The only 2 remaining questions was if there was enough room between the wall and the window and the window and the wood stove, which, according to the professionals, there was. So everything worked out fine. The few fire bricks we replaced cost less than $50. There really isn't a lot of maintenance other than cleaning the pipes each year, maybe twice a year for those who burn wood at low temperatures. This is because creosote can build up and potentially cause a fire under the right circumstances. The wood stove ended up paying for itself in less than 2 years due to the inflated cost of heating oil in 2022. Prior to 2022, the house was heated with oil heat and cost about $1,200 to heat this house during the fall and winter. And that was mostly because I kept the thermostat between 64 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit. I tried to remember to turn the thermostat down when I left the house, and at night I slept under a warm comforter. During the day, I would raise it to 68 degrees Fahrenheit. However, when oil heat jumped above $3 and reaching $4 a gallon on several occasions in 2022 and in 2023, the wood stove turned out to be a great investment. Currently, there are no monthly costs associated with heating our house since we do not pay for wood. Actually, I think we purchased a load of thick scrap lumberwood blocks from our lumberyard for about $75. I think we did that on one occasion. Watch my video on how to get free wood and my winter is coming video for more details on how we get wood for free. You do not need to spend a lot of money on a brand new wood burning stove. If taken care of, these things can last for many decades. Look at social media sites such as Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist to buy a used wood burning stove to reduce your cost in the purchase. Knowing that we can heat our home during power outages in the winter is so comforting. It seems like the number of power outages increase with each year. I have experienced more power outages here than all of the other places I lived at combined. Not to mention, a few years ago when my area got a few feet of snow, many people were temporarily snowed in. I requested an oil delivery prior to the anticipated snowfall. However, I was informed that there were homes completely out of heating oil, therefore they were priority and I had to wait. Now, I was fine with that because I never waited until my tank was near empty before requesting a refill. I normally scheduled a refill when the oil was nearing the 1/4 mark, not at the 1/4 mark. I actually cook on the wood burning stove from time to time. As a matter of fact, when I was looking for a wood burning stove, one of the requirements was that the wood burning stove had a flat top, big enough to set a couple pots or frying pans on for cooking. I have baked chicken, bread, I have slow roasted beef, scrambled eggs, cooked steaks, and made coffee on this wood stove. The wood stove is always on during the cold season, so why not take full advantage of cooking on it when it's on? Cooking on a wood stove versus a gas or electric stovetop is quite different. You really have to keep an eye on things because there are no knobs to control the temperature. However, it is definitely worth having a wood burning stove or alternative heating if you live in an area that gets cold enough to be life-threatening. Now, I know buying a wood burning stove and getting it installed is not in everyone's budget, which is why I mentioned that you can get used wood burning stove off of Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, or other social sites for much cheaper. Also, if a wood burning stove is out of your price range, consider getting a Mr. Buddy heater or a kerosene heater. Also, watch my video on how to create an attachment for your Mr. Buddy heater to cook on. So those were some of the reasons why we decided to invest in a wood burning stove. Here are some other things to consider. You should invest in carbon monoxide sensors and smoke detectors regardless of if you have a wood burning stove or not. Also, the ash bucket. It should never be placed directly on your floor. It should always remain on the hearth. The ash bucket can get extremely hot when you remove ash from the wood burning stove. That's because pieces of charcoal are in the ash when you clean out the wood burning stove. If you don't know, The charcoal in the wood burning stove is hotter than the fire that you see. So if you get a wood burning stove, get in the habit of always keeping the ash bucket on the hearth, whether it is full of ash or not. Just get into the habit of keeping that bucket on the hearth. As I mentioned, our wood burning stove was installed back in March of 2021. However, we started making calls to get quotes on the installs. Each person we contacted was booked solid for the duration of the fall. So it is very busy for chimney sweeps, installations, and other maintenance during the fall and winter. So if you are thinking of getting a wood burning stove, consider making calls during the summer where you will have a much better chance of scheduling installation before the cold season, as well as likely getting a better price rate. I hope that you have enjoyed this video and found it useful. If so, give it a thumbs up and consider sharing it on your social media site to help this small channel to grow.